Today it is cold in my office, so I'm hoping that my pure rage will be enough to get me fired up. In a previous video that I did, you may remember when I reviewed the book Freakishly Effective Social Media for Network Marketing by Ray and Jessica Higdon. For years, trainers have taught to lead with the business. However, then the FTC shuts them down, and so it's like, well, maybe the product. In that review, I very briefly took a look at the company that published that book, which is a company called Success in 100 Pages. Now, I told you guys that I was going to do another video going deeper into that company, looking at some of the other books they published, looking at their publishing model, and talking about the different tactics that they use, comparing that to my own career as an author. I mean, as you guys probably know, this is Savvy Writes Books. I am an author. I have published 9 books, 5 of which are part of a small business that I run myself. My 10th book, which is coming out in 2021, is going to be traditionally published with a small press. So I have experience in a lot of different facets of the publishing world and the writing world, and there are just a lot of elements of this company and the type of books that it puts out that really rub me the wrong way. So I hope you guys are ready for another video where we get to intersect the writing and book publishing worlds with the anti-MLM and let's get rid of pyramid schemes and trash network marketing world. I hope y'all are ready, because today, that's what we're doing. Stick around.
Get you some nuts.
There was lots of memes.
Makes me wonder if I should take up lesbianism.
Chicago. You guys asked for it.
Hey friends, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, welcome to my channel for the first time. I'm Savvy and this is Savvy Writes Books. If you enjoy this video or any of my other videos, please don't forget to subscribe, because every Monday and Friday at 11 a.m. Central, I put out videos about books, writing, small business owner life, the anti-MLM movement, business scammers, and things like that. I know it all sounds like it's all over the place, but I am an author and I am a small business owner, and my small business, which is called Forever Home Friends, produces books along with plushies and toys and things like that, based on real rescue dogs. If you want to check out my work as a small business owner, you can look at the links in the description below. You can also sign up for my mailing list for myself and for my small business. If you sign up for those, I will enter you into the drawing to win my annotated copies of Eric Worre's book GoPro and Ray and Jessica Higdon's book Freakishly Effective Social Media for Network Marketing. I can never remember how to say that. Recently, I've been doing a lot of videos in this genre that I like to call anti-MLM book reviews. And for those of you who are primarily on my channel for book content, in this context, MLM stands for multi-level marketing. It's basically a network marketing company, sometimes encroaching on becoming a pyramid scheme, but not always legally classified as one. I will link up in the cards the playlist of over 50 videos that I've done breaking down the MLM model and why it doesn't really work for business owners and why it's a big problem for the way that it kind of exploits people with entrepreneurial or self-starting mindsets. As a small business owner, I find it incredibly offensive how a lot of these companies try to exploit and capitalize on people's ambition to want to start something and do something different or unique with their own lives, only to be paying into a system that's only benefiting people at the top. So because the other half of my channel is all about book and writing stuff, I have started doing this series where I've been reviewing books, multi-level marketing companies and network marketing companies and direct sales companies. I've started reviewing books that those companies give their consultants and their representatives to use in their training, or books that people who have become network marketing business coaches, such as people like Eric Worre, have written to try to sell to MLM groups and uplines and things like that. I'm so glad that everyone's liking this series so much. A common question I get when I start filming videos for this particular anti-MLM book review series is, Savvy, who even agreed to publish this book? That's a complicated question to answer always, because the publishing world, especially within the past 10 to 20 years, has been constantly evolving and changing and has been existing in a weird flux where there are so many different business models for how to publish books. Most of them are valid. Every once in a while you'll get one that is scammy or problematic in the same way that an MLM might be. I kind of went into those a little bit when I did a review of the book Authorpreneur. I'll link that up in the cards. but not every model is going to be like that. So that's always a complicated question of who published this. Well, when we looked at Eric Worre's book, GoPro, that book was published by Eric Worre's company itself. And that's not a problem in and of itself because, for example, like I said, I run the Forever Home Friends, which is a book and plushie business that shares the stories of real rescue dogs and creates plushies and toys and things like that to go along with them. And my company publishes books that I write for that. So just because your own company publishes something you wrote, it doesn't mean that the book is bad. Like, there's no correlation there. The problem comes from the content of the book itself or strange publishing models that we might see in another place. When I reviewed Freakishly Effective Social Media for Network Marketing, I very briefly touched on the company that published this book, which is a company called Success in 100 Pages. So today we are going to dive a little deeper into that company and some of the other books that they've put out. Now, from my preliminary research on this company, what I found is that they pretty much specialize in network marketing style books. I found only one book in their entire catalog that wasn't explicitly an MLM book. And when I looked into those authors, they are actually very involved in the network marketing world in terms of providing coaching and doing speeches at their conferences. So it's all kind of tied into that world, which is what makes me a little bit suspicious. But before I get too deep into speculating, I really want to go to the websites themselves, look straight at the sources, girl back that statement up. But real quick, before I start doing that, I just want to let you all know that this video was brought to you by my Patreon supporters. Thank you a million times over to everyone who has contributed to my Patreon. You guys are amazing small business supporters. Please check out the description below where my top tier patrons have their own websites or their own social media or things like that linked. I appreciate it so much, you guys. Every once in a while I'll get a video demonetized and I'll be like, oh no, but then like knowing that you guys have my back, like it's just amazing. Thank you so much. And then beyond that, I also just want to thank everyone who watches these videos. Now let's talk about Success in 100 Pages. So here we have the website successin100pages.com, which claims to be what it calls a partnership publishing company. Now that is a type of publishing model that we're going to talk about and go into. I think one of the things we need to keep in mind, a lot of people who watch these videos are also authors or are readers or are people who have either, you know, tried to break into the publishing world themselves or who are readers or book reviewers who request arcs from book publishers and things like that, but not everybody is. Now that my channel's kind of branched out into the business guru scammer world and things like that as well, not everyone has a strong like book publishing industry background. So real quick, if anyone needs background information, I'll just break down what some of the publishing models are. The traditional publishing model is a model where you as an author are an author first and foremost, and you're not responsible for the other elements of it. So generally, if you want to break into the traditional publishing world, and again, there are going to be exceptions to these rules, which I'll go into briefly as well. If you want to break into the traditional publishing world, normally what you'll do is you will find a publisher who wants to publish your book. Now, there are a set of 5 publishing companies, 5 traditional publishing companies that are known as the Big 5, and those Big 5 companies tend to dominate the vast majority of the industry. So if you want to get a contract at one of the biggest 5 publishing companies, you are probably going to need to have a literary agent first. So what you will normally do in that case is if you want to pursue those type of bigger corporations, you would normally have your book written, pursue agents or pitch to agents, write them a query letter, give them sample chapters, whatever they request, find an agent who is in contact with those companies, sign on with them, and then they will go and sell your book to that company and negotiate a contract for you. And then you as the author will make money by royalties from those book sales, and sometimes through an advance as well. Often in a bigger publishing house, they'll give you an advance, which could be a couple $1,000s, it could be tens of thousands of dollars. It really depends on how well they predict that it's going to sell, along with how much clout you personally have within a certain industry and what your following is and everything like that. So they might give you an advance, which then once your book has earned beyond that advance, they'll give you a royalty for each book sold. So a lot of you, that's probably very basic information that a lot of you know, but if not, that's kind of what we look at as the traditional publishing model. Now, not every traditional publishing company gives an advance. Within the traditional publishing world, there is a subset of companies called small presses. And small presses are companies that, I mean, small presses might give advances sometimes, some do. Some don't give any advance and pay authors exclusively on royalties because they're operating on an incredibly small scale and might only, but a small press in that case would still be paying for the expenses. So they would be like, they pay for the books, printing costs. They pay for the book's cover designer, for the formatting, for everything like that. The author never pays anything up front. They sign a contract and get paid from royalties from the small press. Beyond that, outside that model, we have the self-publishing model, which is also sometimes known as the independent publishing model, but there are like some, I guess, nuanced differences there, which I really not that important to get into. However, the self-publishing model is basically the idea that you as the author are taking on an entrepreneurial role with this, which means that the book rights belong to you and you alone. You are not selling the rights to somebody else. You are not signing over any portion of the rights to a third party. What you are doing when you are self-publishing is you are saying, okay, this book is my property. I'm going to put it out the exact way I want it. And because I'm going to take complete creative control of it, I am going to be willing to bear all of those costs as a result. So if you hire a cover designer, that cost is on you. If you want professional formatting, that cost is on you. If you want to hire an editor, that cost is on you. If you want to print copies to sell to people at events, that cost is going to be on you. Or you can do print on demand, which is the thing that's pretty big on Amazon and other sites like that nowadays. Or you could sell exclusively as an ebook and never even deal with print. Those are pretty popular, especially in rapid release genres like romance and things like that. But the key with the self-publishing model is that you keep 100% of the book's profits. You don't have to pay a percentage to a publisher, or you don't have to have an agent take a cut out of it. You're gonna keep the entire profit. So it's a little bit of a higher risk, higher reward situation, because you're not, unless you want to pay for a publicist, which is generally incredibly expensive, unless you want to pay for something like that up front, you are generally going to have to do all the marketing legwork and building your own following on your own. So it's a little bit of a higher risk situation, but because you do get to keep all of your profits and royalties, it could be considered higher reward in that sense. So those are kind of the two big branches, and then beyond that, there are other models within that as well. One that we consider a scam is what we call a vanity press, which is what takes the worst of both worlds. A vanity press is a company that claims to be a traditional publisher because they're like, oh, we're doing all the things for you. We're going to do all your cover design. We're going to do all your formatting. We're going to do everything, and we will pay you a royalty. But you also have to pay them upfront for those services. So you pay them upfront, but then they're also taking a cut of your royalties. So it's like, what's even the benefit here? The benefit is that there is no benefit to you generally. Generally, these are companies that take advantage of authors who are newer to the game and don't realize that there are better options that they could be pursuing. However, not all companies that make you pay to publish with them are vanity presses. Some are self-publishing service hubs. So for example, if you are like, I want to self-publish this book, but I'm not good at graphic design, I can't do layouts, I can't do cover design, and there's like a company that's like, you know what, if you pay us, I don't know, $500 for a cover, or if you pay us, I don't know, $200 for formatting, whatever their prices are, and they give you those prices and say, but you keep 100% of the rights, you keep 100% of your royalties, we are providing you these services and providing you an ISBN if you pay for it or whatever, that's fine. It all has to do with who owns the rights and who is making the profit and who, so it's contractual to an extent. I hope that was a decent brief overview, because success in 100 pages follows none of these models. And that is not necessarily a bad thing in and of itself. Let me be clear. I have made so many videos on the fact that I want to get rid of the binary that something is either traditionally published or self-published. Like when I look at Forever Home Friends, right? I mean, those books are technically self-published in that my company published them, right? Like I founded the company that published them, but they're also published by a company, but also I put in the money up front and I'm the author. So that makes them self-published, but also I published them as the company. So I don't know if that makes sense, but it's kind of like if I'm at an event and someone says, hey Savvy, are these Forever Home Friends books traditionally published or self-published? To me, that's like asking me, are your stuffed animals traditionally published or self-published? Like you wouldn't ask that because it doesn't make sense. Basically, the book is a commodity or a product that I sell as part of a larger business. Now, if you look at a different book that I wrote, let's talk about maybe #SavvyBusinessOwner, my recent business book that came out. That book, I would say, is definitively 100% self-published. It falls in that model explicitly, 1000%. I didn't pay anyone for any services on that. I just did the whole thing myself. But that is an example of a definitively self-published book. Now, if you want to talk about a traditionally published book I have, that would be 90s Kids, which is not out yet, but is coming out in June of 2021. That novel, which stay tuned for updates on that. There's going to be so many updates coming, so just stay tuned for that. Anyway, 90s Kids, which is my sci-fi romance, YA, LGBT novel. Just think of it as like lesbian Back to the Future, but like not exactly. Anyway, this novel is going to be coming out in 2021, and I signed a contract with a press for this novel where they are going to be fronting, or they're going to be taking on all the costs. They're going to be doing a cover design for me. I pay them no money whatsoever, and I will be profiting based on getting a royalty payment from them. So that is going to be my traditional publishing experience. So those are some examples. My point with that tangent was that I'm fine with a company not wanting to follow a model specifically as it is. If you have an innovative way of doing something, or if you have a new way of looking at something and innovating beyond it, I am all for that. As a business owner, I think that that is like a key to staying on top of the market. I don't think this is quite it, but this model, okay, so this model is weird, but it's not completely weird, and it's not completely bad, but we'll go into the problems that it has. So, Success in 100 Pages does a model that it calls partnership publishing. So let's take a look. Welcome to Success in 100 Pages, a partnership publishing company founded by two successful self-published authors, Richard Fenton and Andrea Waltz. Richard and Andrea's book, Go for No, has been a consistent bestseller, translated into 9 languages, and has sold in excess of 400,000 copies to date. That's really impressive. That's really good sales. I will say that's really good sales. The first release under the Success in 100 Pages imprint, freakishly effective social media for network marketing by Ray and Jessica Higdon, shot straight to #1 on several of Amazon's bestseller lists, #1 on Amazon's Movers and Shakers list, and rose all the way to 93 on Amazon's overall bestseller list. More important, perhaps, is that the book is still selling extremely well. So, brief tangent about Amazon's bestseller list. I think this tangent is relevant, though, because just because your book is a #1 bestseller on Amazon does not mean that your book is financially successful. Let me explain. I don't know if you guys, a lot of you who are here for anti-MLM and business guru scammer expose content have probably watched the channel Mike Winnett. If you haven't, then I highly recommend you do, because he did the whole Entrepreneur series, and he does a lot of videos on Grant Cardone. Like, his channel's fantastic. So I will link it in the description below. Specifically, a video that he did, which is how I first found his channel, was a video about what do Amazon bestseller lists mean. So he did a video about how he got a book to the top of the Amazon bestseller list without writing anything. Basically, what he did was he wrote a blank book, uploaded it as a file to Amazon's publishing system, put it in an incredibly specific category, and then asked like 50 of his friends to just all buy it real quick at the same time. Amazon's bestseller lists are updated hourly. I actually like this because it gives a lot of people a chance to try to plunge forward in the algorithm, but it also gives people a lot of ways to game the system and say things that aren't entirely completely true. I mean, they're completely true, but they might imply something that isn't true. So let me explain. Amazon has multiple bestseller lists that go by categories. We don't know how many books actually exist in that category. We know that there are over 30 million books on Amazon as a whole. That list is updated hourly. So let's say the book comes out, in the first hour it's released, it sells 20 copies, and it becomes #1 in that category. I'm not saying this did happen, I'm saying it's feasible. Actually, no, let's just go to Amazon and check it. Okay, so we have the Kindlepreneur sales calculator here. This is an incredibly important tool. This is a calculator that what you can do on it is you look at, you enter what rank books are, and you figure out how many they would have had to sell to hit that rank. I'll show you how this is done. So its rank overall is 41,945. All right, so we go 41945. So if this book is at that rank on Amazon overall, that means that they sell about 7 books per day. So they can be like, all they want, they can say, we're a #1 bestseller. This book is #1. Now, to be fair, it came out 2 years ago. So I can imagine that it's probably not selling as hot as it used to, which makes total sense. But if you're ever wondering, if someone's ever out here like, I'm a #1 bestseller on Amazon, I am so popular, you go to their page, you look at their rank in the entirety of books or ebooks or Kindle store. You look in that, you go over to Kindlepreneur calculator, you enter the number there, and that will tell you how many books they're actually selling per day, approximately. So, yeah, the #1 bestseller thing really doesn't matter since it's updated hourly. And I'll be clear, I've talked in the past, like, my book, One Final Vinyl, I was excited on Twitter because I was like, oh my god, it hit the #1 spot, I'm officially a best-selling author. And I just want to be clear that when I've said that in the past, like, that wasn't me trying to be like, I'm an expert in being an author, I am rich, like, no, that was more me just being like, I'm gonna celebrate a small victory, which is that I hit #1 in the young adult music fiction and the young adult mental health fiction category, like, on the first day or first 2 days that it was there. But that doesn't mean that I sold, like, thousands of books at all, as we can see, like, so I'm not a best-selling author in the sense of, like, selling that many copies. Anyone can become a best-selling author if you make the category specific enough. So I just wanted to be transparent about that. When I have been excited about that, that's been more me being like, check it out, y'all, just because I have an ego, I know. So I'll be clear, like, I'm not necessarily any better than this. It's just that, like, if you use being a best-selling author as a way to brag about, like, how much credibility you have in that arena, then just be prepared for people to look into what you really mean by that. So anyway, beyond that, we talked about the Amazon bestseller list. Let's take a look at their mission and values. Also, bestsellers in multi-level marketing. #1 is the Cannabis Grow Bible. Let's talk a little bit about the partnership publishing model, which I don't think is a bad thing in and of itself, but it's just a thing that everybody needs to be aware of and understand how it's going to work. So the way that it's presented, I don't think is fully accurate here, but we're going to talk about it. So it says the best way to understand how our partnership publishing model works is to compare the two most commonly used publishing options, traditional publishing, self-publishing. So this direct comparison isn't completely accurate. So traditionally, like, in traditional publishing, you might get an advance, and often do if you're working with a big company, but if you're working with an incredibly small press, and maybe this is just because I'm too hipster for my own good, and, like, I know too many people who are working with the really tiny presses, and I'm just all like, small business support every day, but I know a lot of publishing companies that don't pay in advance, that's just not part of it, because they're so small that they can't afford to pay advances. They have to go based on sales alone. So traditional publishing doesn't always pay an author in advance, so that's just a little bit of overgeneralization there. Traditional publishing, the publisher handles everything. That is not true, actually. Even a lot of big 5 traditional publishing companies nowadays, with the advent of the internet and seeing how much Amazon and online retailers have really begun to outsell every other type of store for books, it's particularly now in the pandemic when brick and mortar stores are almost not safe to be open most of the time. After seeing that, publishers are much more willing to give a deal to someone who already has a strong social media following. That's why you see people like fucking Shane Dawson getting huge book deals and things like that. It's the publisher is looking for someone who already did that job of building it up on their own. And even if you're not like a social media influencer, a lot of times a traditional publisher will still ask you to be the one to do a lot of your own social media marketing, to curate your own author newsletter. They're not going to handle everything for you. Some will, depending on the size of the company that you sign with and how well your book is predicted to do. You might, but that's not always going to be your experience in traditional publishing. This one is true. They're correct on the distribution. I don't understand what the purpose of this point is, because the publisher publishes your book versus the author is self-published. Like, I don't know how those are two different things. Like, are you talking about ISBNs here? Because I think in order, like, a lot of people consider a book to be published once it has an ISBN that's for sale on the market. Now, I have my own opinions about ISBNs and how I think that they're pointless, but that's another topic for another day. So I don't know if they're talking about like the ISBN, like the number on your book's barcode, like they're assigning a barcode to your book has a number, a SKU number, a number as a product that the publisher paid for and registered and assigned, or are they talking about like the publisher registering it with the Copyright Office? I don't know what they mean by this, because publish means so many things. That is such a vague term, and I feel like they're just trying to like make a big blanket statement, but that, like, I don't understand what this means at all, because there's so many facets that could be part of this or could not. I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about the partnership publishing model, the best of both worlds. I guess that depends what your priorities are. We've got in the partnership model, the So each person's going to pay for 50% of the costs. Now, I haven't written a network marketing book, so I don't think I can ever work with Success in 100 Pages or kind of see the inner workings as an author, so I don't know. This is just a disclaimer. Some of this is going to be my speculation to an extent. How is that 50% determined? Because for example, there are cover designers you can hire that charge $60 for a cover. There are cover designers that charge $5,000 for a cover. There are formatting artists that charge $20 an hour. There are some that charge a couple thousand for a completed project. There are editors who charge a half a cent per word. There are editors who charge 4 cents a word. There are just such a wide variety of how much these costs can actually be. And, the fact that there's a wide variety of costs is a good thing because it means that people can be competitive. Kind of unlike in a multi-level marketing company where you have to sell the same product at the same cost, so you can't be competitive on anything. But I will say, when I've done freelance editing, my editing rates are a lot higher than a lot of other freelance editors I've seen. So I end up taking clients who are either working on shorter projects or who are working on, more complex projects that need more research and more attention to detail. So it really depends on a wide variety of factors. But my point is, 50% of the publishing costs could mean a lot of things. How are those costs determined? Does the author have a say, I guess is my question. Because it's like, if as an author I'm expected to pay for 50%, is the publisher going to decide to hire the high-end expensive cover designer instead and stick me with the bill? Like, how would I know? So that's my question for that. Then the publisher handles cover design, formatting. Yeah, good. Sounds good. The author leaves the nuts and bolts publishing stuff to the publisher. That's incredibly vague. I have no idea what that means. Arranges distribution and... Okay, so this is another one right here. It's like the publisher arranges for distribution, but the author focuses on building their platform. Those two things are not at odds. In fact, in a lot of traditional publishing companies, including the Big Five, the author does have to focus on building their platform. So this part is like not necessarily, I don't know. By doing self-publishing, I've been able to focus more on building my platform, even though I have to arrange for my own distribution, because the process of building my platform has helped me decide how I want to distribute based on being able to have like a ton of viewers on this channel, and you guys see me and I can kind of tell, like I learn over time what people respond to and what people want. So I don't know, it's kind of like market research in and of itself. That might be a vague point, I'm sorry. So for this one, it's that they both have a long-term vested interest in helping market and promote the book. That's true in any publishing model, because it's like if you're in a traditional publishing model, the publisher is they're gonna make money off of every sale. And the author's gonna make royalties off of every sale. So obviously they would both have a vested, like I don't get this point at all and how it's different than traditional. So in this one, it's that they each keep 50% of the profit and 50% of the upfront costs. So authors only make half of their royalties. So this is not quite the Vanity Press model. This is a hybrid model. This is a partnership model, but that's weird. I would hate to have paid any upfront cost, especially upfront costs that I don't know if I would have gotten to select the price range that I'm comfortable with, and then also have 50% of my royalties taken. Because check it, it says 50% of the profit. In MLMs, a lot of times people don't like to differentiate between profit and revenue, right? Revenue is the money you brought in, the net amount of money you brought in, whereas profit is going to be that minus expenses, so it's going to be the profit. So like, what if your book just doesn't make a profit? You just don't make anything? Or like, what if, I don't know, how do they determine? It's not even clear how it's determined, but it's an MLM publisher, so it talks a little bit here about the book development process. Success in 100 Pages authors are led step by step through an eye-opening trademarked process. A trademarked process? I'm sorry, can you elaborate on that? What is a trademarked book publishing process? The book publishing process has, like, I don't see how you could trademark any process that book public. I'm gonna need to know more about that, but I don't think you're gonna tell me. A complete cover-to-cover read by Richard and Andrea. So Richard and Andrea are the owners of this company. While it is the author's responsibility to write their book, Richard and Andrea will do a complete cover-to-cover read of the author's book, providing honest and detailed feedback on how to make it even better. That's what we call editing, my dude. If you're claiming that you're offering any type of traditional publishing services, even in a half-and-half hybrid model, like, that's a given. What are you talking about with, that's a special thing we offer in our special trademarked model? Like, no, dude. Every publisher publisher should be offering you developmental editing. What the fuck? And then it talks about success in 100 pages does the rest. And so it's like all aspects of book production and publication, including, here's my favorite one, proof reading. So if you're talking about when you go through a book to edit it for punctuation and spelling and grammar and things like that, sentence by sentence kind of thing, fix a little punctuation marks here and there, we call that proofreading. We don't call it proofreading. Proofreading is one word, my dude. You claim that you offer proofreading services and you didn't even proofread the word proofreading. Is that for real? Are you for real right now? Unless that is like a sneaky little loophole that they found, because I will show you something. This is what we call a proof. Right here has a strip that says not for resale. Not every proof is going to do this. This depends on your printer, your publisher, or whatever. So this is a proof, which means that this is a copy of Savvy Business Owner that I got before this book was published so that I could review the formatting, review the cover, make sure it looks good in print. This is a proof. Do they mean that they're going to read your book's proof, but not necessarily actually proofread the book? That's my question. I think it's more likely that it's a typo, but if you're claiming to offer proofreading, you better spell proofreading right. The rest of this sounds like, yeah, sounds good. An author's investment to be published by Success in 100 Pages was $15,000. Oh wait, an author's investment to be published by Success in 100 Pages is $15,000. So you have to pay $15,000. I thought you just had to pay half of expenses. Is this saying that every book is going to cost $30,000 to produce? Because that's a lot. Like, I guess it depends how many copies you're printing, except it explains that you are going to be placing your book on Kindle CreateSpace, which first of all is outdated. The talking about CreateSpace is outdated because the company CreateSpace merged with the company KDP like 2 years ago. So nobody calls it CreateSpace anymore. It's been merged with KDP, who basically owns them. I would call that KDP, not CreateSpace. Professional publisher over here. Just as some background, for those of you who are not watching this from a publishing industry perspective, KDP stands for Kindle Direct Publishing. It's the self-publishing branch owned by Amazon, but it doesn't have to just be for self-publishing because a lot of small presses will register their authors' ISBNs and then set it up there and use that kind of as a smooth sales avenue to get the book into Amazon right away. You can do that through a variety of other distributors as well, but that's just an example. But that stands for Kindle Direct Publishing. Previously, Kindle Direct Publishing had been just an ebook publisher where you would just publish ebooks for like Kindle and things like that, versus CreateSpace was the print book publisher. So if you want, Amazon owned both companies. But then in 2018, the two companies merged. So now it's just all under KDP. So the fact that you're even still talking about CreateSpace shows me you haven't updated this website. But anyway, let's go on from that. So CreateSpace and Kindle, those are CreateSpace and Kindle. So let's just say KDP because that's what they are. KDP is a print-on-demand company. So again, for people who are new to the book publishing world who are watching this, print-on-demand means that you can choose the exact quantity of books that are printed, or you can just print when you make an order. So for example, I use print on demand for my merch. I use the site Printful to do print on demand. Like if you guys have checked out my merch store, linked in the description below, all the merch on there, I don't hold stock of that merch in my house. I upload my designs for the merch onto Printful, and then I hook up Printful to my Big Cartel website. When someone places an order, it tells Printful, and then Printful will print that specific thing. I will make money that is minus the cost that Printful took to print that individual item, but I don't have to pay any money up front. I only pay money when someone orders and I'm getting money from them, if that makes sense. So that's kind of how print on demand works. There's a model like that for books as well, which we see on KDP. So if you set up a paperback book through KDP and it goes up on Amazon and someone clicks on Amazon to buy that book, Amazon is not just holding 1 million of that book in its warehouse because it doesn't know how many orders it's going to get. Instead, every time someone orders one of those books, Amazon prints it and ships it directly to them. That is what we call print on demand. So that is to say, if we're using print on demand, which means we don't have to hold any overhead bulk printing quantity book stock, why the fuck is anyone paying $15,000 for this? Dude, I do have overhead print stock of Forever Home Friends. I have never paid $15,000. Before the pandemic, I was talking with an overseas bulk printer about getting 4,000 of the books printed, and I was going to pay about $5,000 for that, 97 cents per book plus tariffs and shipping costs to get it to Chicago. So that was the thing I was talking about then, but that was to get 4,000 copies of it printed for overhead. I have paid nothing to have stock of this because this is a book that I've done exclusively through print on demand. So dude, you're only talking about setting it up on print on demand sites. You're not talking about getting any thousands of copies printed to handle from your own warehouses or anything like that. Where is this figure coming from? That's what I want to know. Why would an author want to pay that much? If, like, I'm confused. Our unique author paid back first program. Success in 100 Pages also offers a one-of-a-kind author paid back first program where the first 15,000 of gross book sales are paid to the author. Only then, after the author recoups their entire investment to Success in 100 Pages, start participating in the 50-50 royalty share. To the best of our knowledge, we are the only publishing company in the world to offer this arrangement. I mean, that's a pretty, like, I guess they said to the best of our knowledge, so okay. So that is some brief overview on Success in 100 Pages. We are now going to take a look at some of the books that this company has published and a little bit into why I'm not a fan. So here's the About Us page where we can learn a little bit more about the founders of this company, who I personally think are incredibly shady. So it says, we're Richard Fenton and Andrea Waltz, authors of #1 Amazon bestselling book Go for No and the creators of the $1 Million Book Formula training program and now founders of Success in 100 Pages. Thank you for taking a moment to read a little about us. So from this alone, from saying that we're creators of the $1 Million Book Formula, that's what we're talking about with preying on authors who don't have a lot of knowledge of the industry yet or don't have a lot of experience but really want to get their book out there. Seeing that there's something called the $1 Million Book Formula, we talked about this in the author printer review too, that there is so much capitalizing nowadays on the idea that, like, writing a book can make you a ton of money, when in reality, as someone who has written 9 books, is getting ready for my 10th to be published, and I have been an author for years, it is nonstop, constant work. And let me tell you, I've never made close to $1 million. I am not a super rich author whatsoever, but, you know, that's okay because I'm realistic about what's happening, and maybe I will get big and rich one day. That would be great, but it's not going to be from a formula that you can find in one book or one course. Getting rich quick and being an author do not intersect on the Venn diagram anywhere. So here are the books that have been published by Success in 100 Pages. Reaching the Peak, Freakishly Effective Leadership for Network Marketers, $1 Million Book Formula, and then obviously the book that we reviewed on this. So these two are the Ray Higdon books. Let's look at Reaching the Peak, and let's also look at the $1 Million Book Formula, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about what each of these books is about and why it's a problem. So let's take a look at Reaching the Peak first, because I'm going to go a little more in depth into the $1 Million Book Formula, just because as an author I'm offended by a lot of it. Okay, so interested in Reaching the Peak. Many people assume the biggest earners in network marketing are naturally gifted, well-connected, or have some supernatural skills the rest of us don't possess. Jeff Altgilbers is Jeff Altgilbers. I don't know how to say your name, Jeff. I'm not that sorry because you're writing network marketing books. Jeff Alligators is living proof that nothing could be further from the truth. The proof of the truth. Jeff grew up poor in rural Tennessee, received only a basic education, and struggled to keep the lights on most months for his family. He started a business only to have it fail. His life literally fell apart, and though the future was bleak, Jeff had 2 important things going for him. The first was a belief that he could change his circumstances, and the second was a passion for helping others. So when he discovered network marketing, he knew it was the answer. The only problem was he couldn't get that business to work for him either. Then everything changed. That's Success in 100 Pages, offering proof reading. Then everything changed. In this short wisdom-packed book, Jeff Jello Alligator shares his incredible story, the hills he climbed and valleys he sank to on the way to finally reaching the peak in his network marketing company. You'll learn 90-day quick climb plan for growing your business to get massively fast results. How Jeff pushed forward despite consistent setbacks and failures. And then a bunch of other, like, generic bullshit. Cool. So we've got some bait in this, right? We're talking about Jeff was at rock bottom. Jeff had no education. And, like, first of all, I feel like that's targeting people who don't have education and who are, like, struggling to get a job. So he's just like, I'm just like you. Now let me suck all the money out of you, right? Isn't that how that feels? At least to me. This is gonna mess up my Amazon recommendations so much. Oh, Ray Higdon did the foreword. This company's incestuous as hell. Oh my god. Is network marketing right for everyone? Without a doubt, the network marketing profession provides people with many benefits, chief among them escaping the rat race of working a typical 9-to-5 job and being your own boss. Please, anyone in network marketing, tell me, how are you your own boss? Literally the only freedom I've seen is that you can set your own hours, which you can do with freelance work as well. So how is being in a network marketing company being your own boss when you are required to sell something at other people's set price points and there's company approved language? Like, how are you your own boss? I don't get it. So this is just all like generic shit. Low startup cost. Disagree. Network marketing is not right for everyone. I mean, I would go a step further and say it's not right for anyone. But being a business owner provides opportunity for growth that cannot be achieved in any other way. See, that sentence on its own is true, but being in a network marketing company is not being a business owner, so when you apply it to network marketing, it's suddenly false. I see that happening a lot. Oh, this is all just like, this is basically the same. I'm not even gonna go into this because this is all like, I debunked all of this in my Eric Worre book review already. He's just making the same exact points Eric made. Like, not cool, dude. Anyway, let's talk about the $1 million book formula, how to write a book that will sell forever. I mean, you have 26 ratings, so okay, if you say so. Actually, let's look at its ranking. 636,614. Here we go. Let's see how many books a day it's selling. 636,614. Less than 1 book a day! This book, how to make a book that will sell forever. Selling less than 1 book a day. Are you sure about that forever? Guys, I can't make this shit up. It's too good. They even have a course, how to write a short self-published book that will sell forever. Less than a book a day. So let's take a look at the introduction of this book called The $1 Million Book Formula. I was all ready to react to this, but I didn't, before I turned on the camera, I didn't actually do the Kindle calculator thing yet, so... and just to be clear, an MLMer is gonna come up in my comments and do some of my books on the Kindle calculator and be like, Savvy, your first book, Beauty King, is selling less than a book a day. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I'm also not selling people a course on how to make a book that'll sell forever. I'm still figuring out the author world myself. Thanks. Introduction, Los Angeles, October 2003. We're huddled over a fax machine, waiting for our lives to change. Our agent had gotten us a publishing deal with the biggest New York publisher you could think of. Seriously, think of the biggest publisher you can. I mean, there's 5 that are about equally the biggest publisher, so like... so that's who was going to publish our book. After some back and forth, the publisher said they'd be faxing over an offer the next morning at 10 a.m. So there we were, the 2 of us, standing shoulder to shoulder over the fax machine, waiting, waiting, waiting. Finally, we called our agent, who said, I'll call you back in 5 minutes. Another excruciating hour later, our agent called back. The news wasn't good. It looks like they decided to pull the plug on the deal, the agent said flatly. We were flabbergasted. What? How could that be? You said it was a done deal. How could that happen? The agent explained that the publisher had their marketing department do a projection of how many books they thought we'd sell. The conclusion that there wouldn't be enough demand for a highly niche targeted book like ours. On top of that, they decided our platform, the number of people we had on our mailing list, and the number of speaking engagements we were delivering wasn't big enough. They determined your book would be lucky to sell 5,000 copies. The agent said, they're out. So where do we go next? Who do we go to next? There is no next, the agent said. When the biggest publisher in New York... I'm sorry, this is hilarious to me, just because nobody talks like this. This is like just so vague. It's like if I was like... the totally real biggest publisher in New York. There's the biggest publisher in New York. It's totally legit. Biggest publisher in New York at totallylegit.com is their email address. When the biggest publisher... Nobody said this. This belongs on r/that happened. When the biggest publisher in New York says a book won't sell, it won't sell. We're done. The phone line went dead and that was it. Our dream of being traditionally published authors was over. That is not how it works, but it's obvious because they're trying to sell this not to people who are pursuing traditional publishing or people who are pursuing self-publishing. They're trying to sell this to people who have no idea how the publishing industry normally works, so that instead they can sell them on this weird partnership model that somehow costs $15,000. There's no such thing as there is no next, dude. I mean, sometimes your agent is going to, like, if you work with an agent, and I've never worked with an agent, so take this with a grain of salt, but if you have an agent, there might be a time where they do decide to stop selling the book, like if a year or two has passed and there hasn't really been any interest, they might move on to another project. So that happens, but there's no like specific biggest publisher that if they turn you down, your agent will just stop trying. That's not how it works. And also, like, if one publisher turns you down, that doesn't mean that a different publisher is also going to turn you down. There is no publisher in existence that has enough influence that other publishers will be like, oh, here at Penguin Random House, we heard that HarperCollins turned down Susie's book, therefore we should turn it down too. I just named two of the biggest publishers, so could have been either of them easily. But my point is that, like, that doesn't happen. Like, there's no way this story happened. And if it did, it didn't happen like they're saying. Either that or their agent's just as much of a scammer as they are, so. Also, their first book is called Go for No, so let's see how that book's doing. Oh yes, Go for No and Go for No network marketing! So its Kindle store rank is 62113. 62113. 4 books per day. Good job, I'm proud of you. And y'all, this is not for me to say that I'm selling at a way higher rate than this or anything. This is just for me to be like, I mean, actually during the holiday season, Forever Home Friends is doing way better than that. But no, my point is that, like, if you're someone who's going to sell courses and found this entire publishing company taking tens of thousands of dollars from people, you better have some shit to back it up. That's all I'm saying. Girl, back that statement up. So here is their online course, How to Write a Short Self-Published Book That Will Sell Forever. Just like their short self-published book, The $1 Million Book Formula, which sells less than a copy a day. So they have an online course about that. I checked it out. It was like $300 or something, whatever. I fucking hate these type of things. So here's their site about Go for No. Okay, first of all, I kind of hate that Richard and I have shit in common. Like, this is making me angry. But then again, I did a whole 45-minute video essay about how Rachel Hollis and I have everything in common, and that scares me. Guys, sometimes I look at these business gurus because I fear what I could become, so I gotta keep myself in check. We hate what we fear! I didn't come up with that quote. Someone told that to me on Instagram when they were insulting the fact that they didn't like the drinking game I played in my review of the movie Made for More. So, I'm reclaiming one of my hate comments. Alright, Richard grew up a loyal Cubs fan in Chicago. If you're a loyal Cubs fan in Chicago, instead of supporting Richard, buy Just Me Wrigley. A lot of Cubs fans in Chicago have dogs named Wrigley, I'm just saying. Anyway, let's continue. Oh my god, he also won humor speech competitions? No, dude, I hate this. Richard, why are we so similar? I hate it. Andrea is a speaker member of the Direct Selling Women's Alliance. I don't know much about the Direct Selling Women's Alliance, but if it's anything like the DSA, Direct Selling Association, not the Democratic Socialists of America, that's a totally different thing, but the Direct Selling Association, you should check out my friend Taylor from the Antibot did a whole video exposing the Direct Selling Association has been just blocking shit from getting done in holding MLMs accountable for the harm that they cause people. The DSA is not our friend. So here we've got their whole ass resume. They've got Go for No for, they've got this whole personal development store. I hate it. I hate it. So they also have a Go for No course. So they have their $1 Million Book Formula course and their Go for No course. And it's basically just all about how to get more comfortable with people saying the word no. If you want to get comfortable with rejection, let me plug my own book instead. This is #SavvyBusinessOwner, linked in the description below. There is a chapter in here. Chapter 13, The Big Moment, Making a Sale. There's a whole section in here where I talk about being comfortable with rejection. I imagine you'll probably learn the same things from that chapter, plus a bunch of other things. than you will from this course, which is way more expensive. I looked into this concept of partnership publishing a little more. The idea that like the author pays a set amount and the publisher covers a set amount of expenses and then they figure out their royalty split. I'm not against it entirely as long as someone has done their research in full and has decided that that is definitely going to be the best thing for them and that they're not, you know, just getting roped in by false promises. I am willing to consider new models because I think that that's important. But like the whole success in 100 pages thing about we're the innovators, we have trademarked and patented our own process of publishing this book. Like, no, you didn't, dude, because here's another website I found called the Collective Book Studio, who also does partnership publishing. So let's look at submitting to the Collective Book Studio, which has the exact same model as you. So innovative. Although it doesn't really have, it's not really breaking down how much it will cost. Let's see if it does that anywhere. Yeah, so this company does the exact same thing as Success in 100 Pages. Except, let's look at their books. Let's see if they publish scammy-ass MLM books. Looks like their books all seem to be fairly normal. So I'm going to say if you love the partnership publishing model, maybe check this one out, although I'm not going to recommend a publisher that I haven't done a ton of research into, so take it with a grain of salt. Also, here's this company called Deep River Books, who's talking all about partner publishing and about the exact same model. So, like, Success in 100 Pages didn't do anything innovative. So that was my dive into the company Success in 100 Pages, publisher of many network marketing books. I am not a fan of these books. If anyone has read any of these books or has one that you want me to review or you want to mail it to me, comment or DM me, because I don't want these people to get my money, but I'd also like to review them. So like, I also don't, like, I'm not saying buy it or anything. I'm going to start looking online on used bookstores online to see if I can order any of these books used. But if any of you, you know, have one of these books, if any of you are former network marketers and you have these books and you're like, hey, I'd love for you to review it, send it my way, let me know. Anyway, that's just about it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Next Friday, we're going to be doing something a little different. I know that we always have a premiere at 11 a.m. Central, and I'm pretty sure we still will. I'll probably do like a silly video, but we are going to be having a live stream at 1:30 Central, which is 11:30 a.m. Pacific, because if you saw in my Happy Holidays party that I had on November 21st, at the end of that stream, I did an announcement along with Dan, who is the developer of the mobile game Rescue Pets. So we are doing a collaboration where Wrigley, the dog I showed you from Just Me Wrigley, is going to be a featured character in this game. So guys, if you want to know whether I've made it as an author, don't look at my Amazon rank or anything like that. Just look at the fact that one of my characters is going to be in a literal video game. Alright, so we're going to be having a live stream that day to launch it. Rescue Pets is a wonderful company. I'll link them in the description below, where you can download their app for free on Google Play or on the iPhone App Store. You can download it there for free, and there are in-game purchases if you want to. You're not required to do them, like you can do the game without them, but if you do them, then they the money benefits animal shelters, and you can even look in places on the app and see the dog that it's going to benefit. It's super cute. So anyway, they share a lot of missions about helping dogs and, you know, sharing that cuteness and that joy with people. So we are going to be collaborating, and we're going to be showing off the new update with Sweet Pup Wrigley in it that day. So join me next Friday for that. But until then, I mean, I'll see you guys again on Monday. I'll see you on Wednesday for the Author Sleepover live stream. But until then, friends, don't forget to support small businesses. Have a great weekend.
Get you some nuts.
There was lots of memes.
Makes me wonder if I should take up lesbianism.
Chicago. You guys asked for it.